And that gets me to one of our first questions of the day with the Jamie Drysdale injury, because we don't know what's going to happen with that until we find out. But it's looking ahead to how this is going to affect the plan. From Paul with the great car ideas, a regular on Mailbag Monday. He says, guess it's sort of a moot point with now with Drysdale, but do you think Stahl's constant lineup placement was not to shop him, but rather to see if the coaching staff can trust him on a nightly basis and being able to justify trading Sealer Walker? And it's really a question about Sealer and Walker, because people have asked, and it came up on 32 Thoughts today. But we'll start with Stahl, because Charlie and I in pregame yesterday were like, he hasn't been bad.
Well,
he's been fine. Well, you play him in back-to-back games. He gets out on the ice against Sidney Crosby, and he looks every bit as bad as anyone could have possibly imagined. Yeah. I think they just kind of get him into games to get him in there. I don't think they care about justifying his ice time, because he hasn't played for most of the season. No. He's missed way more games than he's played in. I have found it odd since Risto's been out that they've been like, we're still going to go 11-7 and get Stahl in there. That's weird.
It is weird.
And yesterday he plays over Zamula, who, as you pointed out, has been up and down.
He's been up and down. I think you've said this before, but I don't really think you need to showcase Mark Stahl to shop him.
No one is going off of what he does.
Yeah.
We are acquiring him to be a sixth or seventh defenseman.
And a good voice in the room.
Yeah, and a guy who's done it before, been to a couple of finals. You're not getting him because, oh man, that random Sunday game, he looked great. He played 18 seasons in the league. You know what you're getting out of Mark Stahl.
It could be maybe they're trying to ramp up his minutes slowly, because they know that if they trade both of these guys, he's going to have to play a lot more games. And so they're kind of trying to ease him into the idea of being more of a nightly guy. But Torch likes him. I don't really know if it's that deep. I think Torch just likes him.
Yeah.
And I don't think Torch likes Zamula.
It doesn't
seem like he does. I don't think, maybe he doesn't dislike him in a Kevin Hayes sense, but he doesn't like him like he likes Forster. You know what I mean?
He kind of just sees I wanted to find out, and I found out, and this is what he is. He's a bottom pair. We can play him, we cannot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I believe they see in him, because that's kind of what I see.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something more, but it's been a while. It's been a while now with him.
There's been flashes of more than that, but he always seems to just regress back down to being just a guy, which whatever.
There was that period where all of a sudden the power play was scoring.
Yes.
And it was okay, well, he has a role. That dried up, and quickly so too did his playing time.
Yes.
Now let's get to the Sealer and Walker of it all, because that's really what people are most interested in. And Charlie had an interesting tweet about this, and it came up on 32 Thoughts today. Okay, if Drysdale, is out for the rest of the season, let's just say that that's the case for right now in this hypothetical. Would that impact Danny's plan at the deadline to potentially move on from especially Walker with, how many right side defensemen do you have? Not that many, but any of the defensemen, because, hey, now you're kind of just down to 6.
Yeah.
We had 8. Risto's hurt. Drysdale's hurt.
We had too many. Now all of a sudden
we have none. Yeah. And Charlie's tweet, I thought, summed this up pretty well. If Drysdale is out long term, it certainly will test the Flyers' commitment to their rebuilding and will treat the deadline as such stated plan. Everything they've said publicly says that a Drysdale injury wouldn't prevent Walker being moved, but we'll see what they do. I know, we talk, okay, if they move a 5th for a goalie, that's a betrayal of the plan. But at the end of the day, that's a 5th. If they're well, we can't possibly trade Shawn Walker because Jamie Drysdale's hurt, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Will be the thing that makes me go,
100%.
You know what? They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because you have a Shawn Walker asset that was basically something for nothing.
Yes.
You were moving on from Ivan Provorov. You got your first.
A scratch-off ticket that you won.
And now
$20.
Now it's why wouldn't we get more from Shawn Walker? I like Shawn Walker a lot.
Yeah, he's great.
He has filled his role. He has been an effective player for this team. He's fun on the penalty kill, all that stuff, some offensive upside. He's 30 years old.
Yeah.
This is pointless.
Yes.
Now, I guess you can make the argument say they sign him for 2 or 3 years for a lower cap hit, you could always still trade him. Right now is when, like, what are the chances he's this good next year? He's having the best season of his, like, have you ever heard Shawn Walker's name before this year? Because I haven't. Like,
not really.
He's not a guy who, like, oh yeah, teams are lying. There are multiple teams interested in Shawn Walker. He was a throw-in in a trade this summer.
Yes, a cap dump.
What are a cap dump so that they could sign another defenseman? He's a right-handed defenseman that a team hoping to make noise in the playoffs said, we don't need him. In fact, have him.
Yeah.
Take him. How can you possibly justify not trading him?
You have to, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, again, Charlie is right in his analysis. But also, I need Charlie to log off and have some Pedialyte and take a nap. He's sick. No more tweeting.
I see him tweeting. I'm like,
No,
go to
stop
bed.
it. Go to bed.
You're
Watch
not working
Netflix.
today.
You're sick.
You're
Stop
not
it.
working today.
But you're absolutely right. So, like, I know the whole, like, trade a guy at the deadline, re-sign him in the summer. I know it never actually happens. That said, it can happen.
It could.
There's no reason why it can't. There's no reason why you can't have that conversation with him.
Sure.
And say, listen, buddy, we like you. But also, we got to get a first for your ass.
It's one of the things
if you want to come back, we'll have you.
It's one of the things that came up, like, a week or two ago, or last week, I guess, when they were like, they haven't formally started negotiations, but Danny did call up.
Right.
And it's like, they're in Toronto, where his agency is based.
Yes.
So they, like, talked for a minute.
Yes.
And that's part of it. Like, hey, we really do like you. You do fit this thing. If you don't sign an extension immediately with the team you get traded to, it's obvious you want to hit the market. What are you looking for when you hit the market?
That's the thing. Hockey players always do the stupidest thing and the thing that's, like, most against their interests.
It's really hit the market, dude.
Yeah. You don't have to sign an extension with the team that we trade you to.
No.
That could be anybody.
Don't.
You have no say in it. You don't have to like them. You don't have to want to go there. Like, this isn't a Claude Giroux situation. You're not choosing this. We could send you someplace incredibly shitty. You don't have to stay there. If you want to come back, the team has pretty much openly said, we'll have you back. So, like, say, okay, sucks, I don't want to be traded. Moving is annoying. But take the trade. Go do whatever happens on the team that's going to make the playoffs and is probably going to be making a push because who else would be picking you up? See what happens. If you like it there, then okay. You learned something. But if you hate it and you want to come back, the Flyers will almost certainly sign him. So it can happen. But you can't. It's the same as the goalie thing. You can't make a this year decision with any of these people because you've told us 100 times that that's not what you're doing.
This year and next year don't matter. So why would we plan anything around this year and next year if winning the games literally doesn't matter?
And here's the thing, like, sitting there watching you guys talk to Keith Jones, I fucking believe him.
Yeah. Like, maybe he's a great fucking con man.
No one's that good, dude.
He's saying things to me, and he's, like, saying with his eyes, I am telling you the truth.
Yes.
You know?
I 100% believe him when he says, I don't care about these games. Like, he said without saying, we don't really care what's happening this season. We're letting the boys go out there and have fun. Cool that they're winning. We don't give a fuck that they're doing it.
And, like, you're seeing what, like, Sidney Crosby, maybe at the end of his career, is like a Mount Rushmore guy. You know, you're seeing Claude Giroux, an A-tier player in his mid-30s, continue to produce at a high level.
Yeah.
Shawn Walker is not an A-tier player.
No, if he's a C-tier, is lucky with that.
I don't mean to disparage the man. He was a great find.
I like him.
But, it's just like your age and the timeline. When they told us Johnny Gaudreau doesn't fit the timeline, that wasn't a lie. It was just like, well, how the fuck does Risto and Travis Sanheim...
To be fair, that was the other guy.
But Risto and Sanheim and
yeah.
Tony D, but, like, these guys fit the timeline? That was really... Like, Nick Delorier fits,
Yeah.
That was really what the consternation came from. Shawn Walker does not fit the timeline. He can't possibly be kept.
Here's my question for you, though. Because we had a conversation before about Danny Briere needing to use this deadline to, like, not only do some stuff and get some things, but also, like, to establish himself as a general manager in this league. This is his first deadline. a bunch of teams are trying to lowball you for Shawn Walker, and the best you get offered is a late third. And Danny says, nah, because fuck you. You're not lowballing me out of a valuable player. Well, like, is that okay with you? Or do you take anything that comes?
I feel like you were here when we talked about maybe, I feel like a third or a fourth, like probably a fourth is, you get that for his rights.
Yeah.
Like, you get a fourth or a fifth for his negotiating rights for that window at the end of the season before July 1st. That said, I cannot imagine if there's multiple teams involved, you can't.
It's an unlikely scenario, yeah.
Chemo Timonen couldn't play. And you got 2 seconds for him. It was like, yeah, I'll suit up and do what I can. Also, I'm taking my life in my hands by doing it, and I'm not all that effective anymore. Like, they didn't play him most of the time, you know? I can't imagine you can't figure out a way to get, like, 2 twos. At least something. A package with him and Sealer.
Joe makes a good point. Justin Braun
traded the deadline and came back. Yeah, they just did that.
Yeah.
It did just
I forgot
happen.
about Justin Braun.
I forgot all about that.
We just need to Justin Braun Shawn Walker.
Can Justin Braun come back again? Because they might need him.
He might. What's he up to?
No, so that's...
Where is he?
Like, they have to... Like, Nick Sealer doesn't matter as much to me because I just... can't imagine anyone's willing to part with.
I'm obsessed with the idea of trading them as a pair.
Me
Something
too.
about it makes
I really,
me really happy.
love that
it's
idea.
Fun.
Like, and that to me guarantees a first round pick, or at least like a higher end prospect. I'm not saying like your best prospect or something, but like a higher end prospect who could potentially be an NHL player. But just like if it's a third round pick for Sealer, I don't hate the idea of keeping him around a little bit. But at the end of the day, they should trade all the pending. Like, the thing that makes the most sense is trading pending UFAs.
Yes.
Everyone after that, you make your decision. You can punt on the decision.
Right.
But
the UFA's got to go.
The UFAs, Shawn Walker especially, he has the most value. I want to get to the Cam Atkinson part of this now.
Ugh.
So his season has been a roller coaster ride that is hard to explain. First 15 games, 12 points, 8 goals, 4 assists. And then from November 15th to January 12th, he had a 26-game goalless drought, which is he got scratched in there at one point. Hard to do almost. He broke the drought with 2 goals against the Jets on January 13th, I think, and scored 5 goals and 5 assists over a 6-game stretch. Since then, from January 25th to now, 11 games, no goals, no assists.
Not good.
He hasn't registered a point in literally a month. January 25th to now, February 26th. I realized the break was in there, but it doesn't even matter.
I mean, you're
11 games,
correct.
No points.
That's not
Guys, you didn't chip it out of the zone.
It didn't go up your ass.
This team has 3 breakaways a game.
I know.
You didn't chip it out of the zone once for a breakaway. It's happening all the time. What are they gonna do with this guy?
How do you not get a point in yesterday's game?
There were 6 goals. There were 13 total goals. I think he had 1 shot.
I don't understand what's happened to him. And I know goal scorers are streaky, but I feel like this isn't streaky.
This is, I mean...
Because he not only isn't scoring, he looks terrible.
I can't even say he looks bad. I don't know when he's on the ice now.
No, a lot of times you don't notice him. But a lot of times when you do, it's because he's fucked something up terribly.
Not
or
good.
Whiffed on something very... it's just
he's missing when he is in the right place.
Yeah.
He's missing...
yes. It's real bad.
I looked up the potential options. So he signed... I thought he had 2 years left, but there's only 1 more after this season. Signed through next season at $5.875. So effectively $6 million. If you are to find somebody who's willing to take him on at 50%, if you cover the 50%, it would cost both sides $2.9375. So effectively $3 million. Oh, that would be tremendous. Or the more likely option, buying him out. That would result in a $2.358 million cap hit next year, a savings of over $3.5 million. But then a cap hit of $1.758 million in 2025-26. that's something you would not incur if you were, able to trade him or just let his contract expire through next year, whatever it is. But it's under $2 million. Again, next couple of years, cap space probably not at a premium. This isn't the NFL where you can roll it over. What do they do? Like, do you just buy him out? Do you keep him? Just let it expire? If they keep him, the coach is going to play him because he's playing him now.
Yeah. That's his dude.
They have to have dudes like who are better than him because he's doing nothing.
Yes, 100% they have to, because nothing, like no one's doing worse than nothing. Like that's not a thing. The buyout, you just have to think really hard about where you think this team is going to be in 2 years. Like, is that going to be the time that they need to start acquiring players? Because, like,
hopefully
that's how it's going to happen. Like, that's how these teams. I know everyone likes to pretend that every cup contending team is built entirely through the draft, but that's not how it works ever. So at some point, the Flyers are going to be in a position where they have a good base of young players, and they need to add to them with free agents and that kind of thing. Is that going to be 2 years from now? Because if it is, losing almost $2 million in cap space is a little rough.
That said, cap is going up, and it's expected to continue to go up for the next several seasons. Like, 1.76 doesn't seem like the end of the world 2 years from now.
I mean, it's probably not. If you can't trade him with retention,
that would also be, you'd still have the over 3.5 Kevin Hayes on the books.
Yeah.
That's the last year of that too, 2025, 26.
So now
you'd
you're
have
like
basically
$5
$5 million in dead money of guys you've just straight up retained or bought out.
Yeah.
And that's before anything else.
Right. I mean, like, it's not great. That's a bit of a handicap if you're trying to.
Lindblom's buyout is over after this season.
That's not a lot of money, though, is it?
No, 666. Yeah. And Tony D's is over after next year. So it's
the problem really is that, like, with what you've seen from Cam Atkinson this season, if you're an NHL general manager, why would you even want him at 3?
No,
you wouldn't.
Like, you can get Scott Lawton at 3.
Right.
Who can play.
The only way in my mind, the only way this is happening is if you're doing a ghost and you're paying some team to take him at 3.
And we're not in a position.
Should not be doing that.
To give away assets to get rid of a guy.
Shouldn't be doing that. So it's a real conundrum. But they got to do something. Because they can't keep him on the team.
That, like.
I mean, I guess if next year is supposed to also be shit. Like, if we're just assuming that next year is shit, and Keith Jones has pretty much told us that it is, they're not going to be competing for a cup next year. So maybe you do just wait it out.
I think, like, waiting it out is it's the most ideal. My problem with the idea of waiting it out is simply the coach playing him.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's my issue, because I'm looking at Bobby Brink right now.
Dude, I'm looking so worked up about Bobby Brink.
Bobby Brink, I believe, is at 11 points in 11 games. He followed up. Brink followed up his 3-point game in Charlotte on Saturday with a primary assist on Sunday to bring him to 11 points, 6 goals, 5 assists in 11 games. He's also got 29 shots on goal. He's a -1 in those 11 games. Like,
dude,
he's good.
Why?
He's a good player. Now, if the answer about, like, how do you justify playing Atkinson over Brink right now, if the answer is because we think Brink needs to play in the AHL to develop properly, and that's more important than his production against Atkinson's this year, then okay. But you have to have one dude in the organization who is better than Cam Atkinson right now. There has to be one. If there isn't, this is going to take 10 years.
No, see, I think that this is more of, I think if this was anyone other than Cam Atkinson, he would have been sitting already.
Do you think it's just because it's Torts' guy?
Torts loves him. I think that he is going to get the longest leash of anyone in this organization from John Tortorella. And that's like, I mean, fair, whatever. I have a problem with Brink generally, like, not even just in relation to Cam Atkinson's terrible play. Bobby Brink did exactly what he was supposed to do. He didn't throw a fit like Wade Allison. He went right down to the AHL and he fucking lit it up. He is playing so well down there because he is better than an AHL hockey player. We saw it from him at the start of the season. Did he fall off a bit? Yes, because he's a child. He's very small. He's getting used to the NHL. If he's going to be an NHL hockey player, he needs to play in the NHL against NHL talent. We're seeing from him that he has reached maximum potential against AHL talent. He's better than them every night, better than the AHL competition. If he's going to ever be as good as or better than his NHL peers, he's got to play against them. It doesn't make any sense for him to be down there.
We have both said for years, you learn to play in the NHL by playing in the NHL.
Yes.
I think, like, for right now, and by right now, I mean from today until March 8th, I'm fine with him in the American Hockey League. But eventually, like, this guy made the team out of camp because he was one of your best players in the preseason. Yes. And yes, he did fall off. But I would say for the majority of his time in the NHL, he looked like an NHL player to me. It is vitally important to me that he come back this year, and even more so that he's on the team next year. Like, you also have an Ula Lixell, who, yes, is 24, almost 25. Like, maybe he's aged out of being a prospect. They don't really think he's basically what he is now is what they think he's going to be. A guy who's going to go back and forth. He'll score in the AHL. He also played really well yesterday. He did. And I think, like, he deserves a look, especially if dudes are going to keep getting hurt. And if we're going to subtract some forwards at the deadline as well, like, he absolutely deserves it. Eventually, I want to see Samu Tuamala in here. Now, Charlie just talked about him yesterday. Like, he's a year removed from breaking down to Brent Flair. Like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm so much better than this.
No.
So, like, all right, let him develop. That's fine. But he's going to, like, you got to bring him up eventually. They do have guys. Like, they were just ranked the 4th best farm system.
6.
Was it 6?
6.
I saw one that said 4.
Oh, I was talking about Wheeler on the Athletic.
Oh, yeah, that was 6.
Yeah,
I saw a totally different one. I don't even know who it was, but I'm going to quote it. It was, regardless, they're a top 10 farm system, which means they must have some guys. That gets me back to, like, if you're going to keep Cam Atkinson, because the smartest thing to do financially is just let his contract expire after next season, okay. But he can't be an every night player. At least treat him like Delorier, where it's like, you're going to play some because you're here. But, like, if we have something else going on, like, yes, against Matt Rempe, you're going to be in the fucking lineup because we don't need anyone getting killed. But, like, the rest of the time, we have to play somebody else.
No. And I've seen fans on Twitter, and I hate that I always talk about Twitter, and you and Charlie said yesterday, if we weren't on it so much, we would be happier. You are correct. I've seen people be like, man, you think Bobby Brink's going to come up here and start winning games? Like, no, I don't. No. I don't know that he's going to move the needle for the Flyers as far as wins and losses. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm worried about Bobby Brink, the player that we saw at the start of the season, the player that I want Bobby Brink to be. Because, like you, I'm very high on him. I fucking love this kid. I want him to be a thing in this organization.
Lot of tools.
Yes. I need him to be able to develop into the best possible version of himself, and he's not going to do that playing down to AHL competition. And that's what annoys me. And so I don't really care if Bobby Brink is going to be the thing that wins or loses a game. Like, if they go 12 with Bobby Brink, oh, it's a win. And if they go 11, no, that's not the point. The point is, Bobby Brink could be something. And we're not going to know if he is or if he isn't if they keep him parked in the AHL for no reason while you're going 11-7, while Cam Atkinson looks like shit. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And, like, we've talked so much that these games mattering is a great way to find out who these players are.
Yes.
Brink is one of the guys I want to find out who he is.
Really badly, I want to know what he is.
I want him to play in these meaningful games while they still matter. Like, after March 8th, who knows if the games are going to matter? Probably will still be in it, but we'll see if it's a quick, like, nosedive. I mean, like, if Sam Ersson has to miss a week, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue. But I just want to see these dudes playing these games. And, like, the coach talked about maybe Brink developing some bad habits, whatever it is. I watched one of his goals, I think from the Saturday game, his first goal, where he's just, like, in the circle, rips a slap shot, it hits the goalie in the glove and goes in. was not an NHL goal. I don't need him developing AHL habits where he's just simply better.
Yeah.
Like against inferior competition. Right. Like I'd rather him struggle up here and learn what it is than him dominate down there. I think it is good. Build some confidence back up. I
had no problem with him being sent down.
Play the big minutes in a scoring role. Awesome. 11 games seems enough to me.
It's enough.
Especially considering how bad some of the forwards are on this team.
And how well he has played in the AHL.
All right, not a ton of time left before we. This happens every Mailbag Monday. We've done 2 questions. Before we move on to the rest of the mailbag questions, I got to tell you about Bagels Company, the absolute best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here with Philly love. First thing you got to know. Huge bagels and a huge selection of bagels, whether you're looking for something traditional like an everything or something wacky like a Dorito bagel, they have you covered. And when you have that many kinds of bagels, usually 15 to 20 available daily, you need a lot of cream cheeses, 30 different varieties of cream cheese, different flavors available on a daily basis at Bagels Company as well. But the most important thing, they're affordable. It is an affordable brand. You get a lot of food for cheap. Also, don't sleep on the coffee. Pretty damn good if I say so myself. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to thebagelsandco.com/store-locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you. All right, with the time we have, let's see how many of these questions we can bang out. First, from Jim Gow. How much longer can they continue to play Delorier 5 to 6 minutes a night, especially when they go 11 forward 7D with Lixell and or Brink? You can roll 4 effective lines.
I feel like we answered that
question.
Yeah,
we've answered that. The only thing I'll point out is how long can they afford? They don't care.
No.
They think he plays a role. Yeah. They don't have anyone else who's going to fill that role, so it's going to be him. I would much rather, if they're going to have Delorier in the lineup, go 12, because as you see, one guy gets hurt, or Delorier serves, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 17 minutes in penalties as he normally does. Yes. Well, now you're down to 10. If he's going to play, I would like to see them go 12.
Yes. That's the real issue. If you're going to play Delorier, just play a normal lineup, for fuck's sake.
Please.
You can do it.
From Albert Starks III, Morgan Frost last 5 games, 1 assist. No, I am not saying anything / everything is his fault, but the question, if you are trying to determine if a player fits for the future, is it possible that Frost plays himself out of town with a bad finish to the season? The reasoning, if his role is to produce offense and you simply don't do it now when the games actually matter, why would anyone honestly believe it's coming after all this time? Good question.
It is a good question.
I will say the remainder of this season is huge for Morgan Frost. While, the last 5 games he hasn't produced statistics. Yesterday, I won't say he was effective, but he has been one of the Flyers' more noticeable players recently. I would like to see that continue, though. And I mean, you look at the ice time, he's the 1C right now.
Yeah.
Shawn Couturier not getting a ton of time. We'll have a question about him in a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. The center depth is
They don't have any.
No. So getting rid of Morgan Frost seems like a bad idea at this stage of the game. He does, though, obviously have an incredibly short leash with the coach. He can't fall back into his bad habits. Yesterday's game, he did a lot of coasting. I feel like that's one of the things that Tortorella probably really fucking hates from him. He can't take the foot off the pedal at all.
Never.
He's got to be 100% of what Morgan Frost can be every night, or it's going to be a problem for him. And I do think that the last few games, he's kind of eased off the gas a little bit. And hopefully, I think at the end of yesterday's game, his time went down quite a bit.
I believe so.
So that was probably a little warning from the coach, hey, buddy, don't stop fucking around. But like you, I'm not really worried about him being bad, because he hasn't looked actively bad for most of these games, even if he's not producing on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's there was the when Konechny was healthy, like he's out there with him and Farabee, TK.
That line was awesome.
That was an effective line.
So fun.
Like Farabee also was invisible yesterday. Like there was, considering they scored 6 goals, there was a lot of dudes who like did not contribute. It was a very odd game. But I do think it is huge for him if he wants to stay here and establish himself as the 2 or 3C. The way this season ends will be big.
Yes, 100%.
All right. From JMU fan, with Forster seemingly starting to put it together scoring-wise, where do you think he slots in long-term, assuming he gets close to his ceiling? Is a second-line wing on a contender realistic?
I think so.
I absolutely think so. Yeah. I think he is an excellent piece you can play on any wing in your top 9. Because of the way he plays on both sides of the puck. Like now, like him, Couturier, and TK, is that a winning first line? No. But if you have a legit 1C and like Michkov, all right, yeah, you could probably have Tyson Forster on that first line, and it's a good first line. Yeah. Or you can slot him down somewhere in the lineup, and he fits. I think he's going to be an excellent two-way Swiss Army knife anywhere in the top 9.
I think so too, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that at this point. Like that goal he scored yesterday, the one where he like patiently waited and like pulled the puck back and then just put it over.
Yeah.
Like he is, once he really gets confident in his scoring, I think he's going to be like really good. Like obviously not A-tier good, but like a really good player. And second line on a contender, I don't think it's a stretch at all.
No, I think that's like, yeah, if I think he fits anywhere in a top 9, like that's basically where he slots in. If you're just going like, who are my 9 best forwards? Yeah. Second line wing on a contender is exactly where he would slot in that instance. All right, from Flyers fan 39. How do you evaluate Couturier's play in the latter part of the season? Seems to me he has taken a slight step back, except for faceoffs. I don't think he's playing injured, so maybe just the grind catching up with him after questionable conditioning. Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years. He had double back surgery. I think they saw enough out of him to say he's going to be an effective player going forward. But the days of him being a Selke contending 1C, I think are probably behind him.
Probably.
But he hasn't been great lately.
No,
I mean, he's had a few instances in the offensive zone. I mean, each of the last 2 games, he had a chance to tie the game if he made a play on the puck, and he wasn't able to. That said, I think he's been mostly fine, and it's just going to be a process with him. This season was about getting back out there, and he got back out there and looked pretty good for the most part.
I hope he's not playing injured.
I'm sure he's banged up. I'm sure he's sore. Like, he did miss basically 2 full seasons.
I can't imagine his conditioning is a problem, though. Like, he seems like the kind of guy that probably works out 17 hours a day.
I don't, like...
in the off-season.
Questionable conditioning isn't how I'd put it. Just, like, hasn't gone through the rigors of a full season. And, like,
in a long time.
Prior to the last couple seasons, we had short seasons. It's not as if they were playing 82 games the 2 years prior.
A very fair point.
Like, it's been a long time. It's been like 4 years since he's played a full season simply because of what the schedule has been, because of COVID, and then his injuries. It's just going to be a process with him. Hopefully, like, my hope for him is late stage Jordan Staal. Like the Jordan Staal of the last several seasons, that's what we get. The good two-way center who can chip in on offense, but you're not counting on him to be the 1C, but he plays a very specific role in terms of leadership and two-way play.
Yeah, I think that what we should reasonably expect is that what Sean Couturier actually is right now is something in between what we're seeing now and like astonishingly good, almost Selke level Sean Couturier that we saw at the beginning of the season that shocked everyone. I think he's probably somewhere in the middle, really, right now. I don't think he's as bad as he's been playing.
I forgot that this was we did so much of the like straight hockey stuff today.
I'm excited about this.
I forgot that this was the last question. Has anyone ever told Bill that this is from Scott R? Has anyone ever told Bill he could be Noah Kahan's brother? Yeah. I have seen these comparisons before.
I didn't know who he was until today.
Don't remember what this guy does, but
he is a guy.
It is very weird how much he and I look alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get him in studio? How does that happen?
Like, it's strange. I will say, and there are pictures of him where we look less similar, and there are pictures where we look more similar, but we both do have the, I call it interesting looking nose. We both have that. We have the long black hair.
You do.
Similar facial hair.
Yes.
I get it. We do kind of look similar. His eyebrows are thinner than mine, I would say.
Not really.
I don't know. They're pretty dark. They're shaped. But I wouldn't. I think he's got the thick eyebrows too.
I feel like Bill after a week in Sea Isle.
Yeah, that's
like just a little bit of a tan.
If we were to look at my summer pictures rather than like my midwinter picture, I think I would look more. But yes, I have heard it. I don't know who this person is.
Me neither.
But
I'm extremely uncool.
It came up in one of Ava's like group chats a couple weeks ago. Like, Ava, have you seen this guy who looks exactly like your husband? And like, I think we're being a little generous that I look exactly like him. He's
close.
pretty handsome.
Who says Bill Metz isn't handsome?
But it's weird. It's definitely weird. So thanks for that, Scott.
We all silly like the mayor.